Oh, welcome. It's so good to be here. Oh my gosh, it's always such a neat group to come back to. And there's so much love here. So thank you for letting me share. Shoot. I got to get this out. So just let me cry for just a moment. It's a special year for me. As most of you know, 20 years ago, September 20th, actually, of this year, I received Judean stem cells, and which is the beginning of a new life. It's like getting a new hard drive. So they pretty much depleted my system for 5 months previous. Yep, there's a lot of workup. And then when I was ready and to receive them on September 20th, I was infused with Judean stem cells. And so that was day 0. And then it started over. And so it's been quite a year of reflecting back, of what I've learned, what I've loved, and where I am now compared to 20 years ago. So thank you for letting me celebrate this time with you. It is quite a milestone. At the time when I was diagnosed, they had given me about 1.5 years to live. The cancer was in the bone marrow. Actually, it's in the blood, in the bone marrow. And 85% of my bones were cancerous. So it was pretty shocking at the time. And but I learned so much, and so what I want to share with you a little bit about what I loved and what I learned. And then I want to just share a little bit about miracles. Because when I was diagnosed, it was the first time in my life that I really prayed for a miracle, because that's exactly what I felt like it was going to take. Because there was no way I could see any other way than death. I mean, death was coming at me fast. I didn't want it. And it really felt like I knew I needed a miracle. So it was the first time I'd really prayed for myself, for one. So that whole idea of what is a miracle and all that. So then at the end, I want to share a little bit about what I have come to realize. So what I have loved about this whole journey is the challenge. I love challenges. We grew up in Colorado. My dad loved climbing mountains, so there was always something that we were trying to overcome, I was very tall, as you can tell, and at those years, I was one of few. There were not a lot of tall people, so being tall was a challenge. Being the middle of 5 kids was a challenge. Being an elder's daughter was a challenge, so we have those challenges. And so this was such a neat opportunity to take everything that I had learned from my past, challenges like even getting my leg cut with a chainsaw as a junior in high school, everything was an opportunity for this time in my life, so because I knew I could do it, because I had that past. So that was exciting. And then it was also an opportunity, because when you're faced with death, you're actually at a threshold of choosing. And I love, so many of the songs of like, love is a decision. And so it was such an opportunity to realize that maybe I was dying inside, and I didn't even realize it. Even though in some ways my body was dying off, emotionally I had been dying off. I had suffered from depression, unhappiness, and it was like something was off. Something was out of balance, and it was an opportunity to heal my life. So gave my body over to science, let them take care of the cancer physically, and then I would take care of it emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. And so for 20 years, that's been my focus. And then And also adventures. I love adventure. I mean, and that was the other thing I loved about it, because we were on the cutting edge. I was the fifth one in the country to ever get this particular protocol, because it was immunotherapy. So they created a vaccine from my plasma to give to Judian before she donated her stem cells, like an anti-cancer vaccine. And they had never done it with multiple myeloma. So it was very exciting to see what they were doing in the sciences. And so then they gave her the shot before she donated her stem cells, which she sat on the bed for 11 hours with an apheresis machine, spinning out what they needed and putting back what they didn't. And then 100 days later, after I got the stem cells, they gave me a booster. So they had never done that with multiple myeloma, so that was very exciting. And there were just so many, just being in the whole medical field. I mean, I was so honored to have the doctors and nurses and professionals, because there have been several procedures that I've had since then in the bones. I had a jaw infection from medication that I had taken previously. I had cataracts from the steroids. I had compression fractures. So there were a lot of side effects besides the chemo and radiation. But it was all, to me, part of the process, a part of the journey. And we were, as a family, we were always going on adventures. So this was just the next adventure. And my husband was military, so every 2 to 3 years we were packing up the family and going on another adventure. So, okay, I'm done with adventures. I'm ready to stay put, you know what I mean? I'm done with challenges too. I'm ready for easy. I'm retired, So, but one of the things that has been so evident in my life was the part about the miracles, because it was such a mystery. It felt like a mystery. What is a miracle, and how do you perform miracles, and how are miracles performed? And I always thought it was an event. Like when I get well, then it will be a miracle. Well, when I was diagnosed, and you realize life happens and you get to choose who you're going to be in the face of it. I chose to be well. And so even before we started treatment, and I had a disease to manage. So at that point, I felt, well, that was a miracle, actually, if you think about it, because I had a shift in perspective. And what I've come to realize is that's what a miracle is when you have a shift in perspective. When you have life occurs like, okay, death, dying, cancer, and there's life, love, hope, and you live from that place, even though you're still living with the enemy, you're still living with that. So this whole thing about, get rid of that Kleenex, cancer, so the whole thing about miracles. And so at the very beginning, when I was writing my newsletter in December of 2003.
Which was called?
Oh, I know, I'm getting to that. So at the very end, I was telling everybody that, if you want to keep track, this was before Facebook and social media, I said, I'll start an email list and I'll call it the Miracle Meter, because I knew there were going to be a lot of miracles. And so meter was the only type of measurement I could think of that rhymed with miracle. So I called it the Miracle Meter. And so the whole time I was going through this process, I would send out regular emails, and it would call the Miracle Meter, and then I'd date it. And so it's an opportunity to share, and then the minute I hit enter, it was like gone, and then I was just free. It was just such a free way to share, and a great way. So, and then I even put it on my license plate. So it's MRCL MTR. And some people say, is that Miracle Mother? I go, I'll take that. That too. But that it's been a constant reminder. And it's actually kind of been like, whoa, I got to stand for that. It's something I'm standing for, like miracles. And so it was a neat reminder. And so, originally when I was going to give my talk, it was going to be kind of like hidden messages about license plate and bumper stickers. Because aren't there the best bumper stickers sometimes, or license plates? So this whole thing about miracles was just really present to me in my life, and how everything I went through, everything that happened that I was able to participate in was a miracle to me. And so, and I think the biggest miracle was, I don't know how many of you have had cancer, but even though sometimes you get cured, which I don't know if there's, or you're in remission, there's always that what if, what if it comes back? The chance of a secondary is like, well, the chance of a secondary. So you're always on the alert to the what ifs. Now, early on in my journey, I was also given some great advice. Stay with the what's so and what's next, and stay away from the what ifs. But it's human nature, we want to kind of grab onto that what ifs. But anyway, so just being able to live with, I just want to say it was the enemy. It kind of occurred to me as the enemy. However, I also was in that place of creating with cancer instead of fighting cancer, because what you resist persists. So I actually was able to welcome it and used it. It was a great gift, because every time I was reminded of cancer, I realized how precious life is. So my intentionality in my life just went, just went up, because it's like, you don't realize how precious life is until it's almost taken away, until there's a threat of it being taken away. And we all know that, especially at the age we're getting to be, it's like, okay, life is precious. So the whole process of welcoming, surrendering, and letting go of control. The welcoming prayer is so much of that, is welcome. Whatever instead of resisting, welcome it, sink into it. Maybe it's something I'm feeling in my body, and then let go of my desire for control. And so, I've learned to let things flow, especially when I have that fear that shows up. And I love the song, because that whole idea of the bridge between fear and love is forgiveness. And that one of the things, as far as healing my life, is healing relationships. And so being able to forgive myself, being able to forgive others, sometimes I want to blame the culture, I want to blame the environment, you want to blame somebody. But it's like, no, it's just a matter of forgiveness, So, and I realized that my journey has been about returning to love. I love that whole thing about the Course. Now, I have not done the Course in Miracles, but the things I've heard about, like even Marianne Williamson's, is to return to love. And so, the journey to healing is a return to love. It's back to loving ourselves, which sometimes is the hardest thing to do, because we're so hard on ourselves. I know Judy and I do this internal family system, so we have these parts, and these parts that want to sabotage, or they're very critical, or judgmental. So we have parts of us that are always wanting to sabotage, and then there's a part of us that just wants to love. So once we can kind of quiet those parts, then you're present to the love. So I have found that, in the last, I just want to say the 20 years, it really has been so much more evident how important forgiveness is. Because it brings you back to a place of calm. It brings you back to your center, to your true self, which is such a gift. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh. So again, the Course in Miracles is about peace is the goal. And so, and when I find, because I can even sense when someone's energy is off and negative, it's like, whoa, so there's a guarding. I have a guard, it's like guarding the heart, where I can't be with real negative people. It zaps the energy out of me. And so, and that's okay. It's helped me to set my boundaries. So healing my relationship with myself and with others. I've been married. It will be 47 years this year. I have 4 kids, married, 10 grandkids, and I just look back at the abundance of where I have come in the last 20 years, and I'm just so thankful for cancer. Hello. I mean, what started out as the worst thing that ever happened to me was the best. I don't know that I would have ever had these opportunities had I not been diagnosed and, that I had not had it. Yeah, now, do I want to continue with it? I think I'm done with this chapter. I think that's what this is for me. It's like an end. It's like I want to declare this chapter complete. So anyway, but basically that's, all I want to share is that love is the answer and how important that is. And thank you. So let's just take a minute to breathe. Feel your body. Find your seat or your feet. And just rest in the peace and the joy and the love. And the gratitude of life. Amen.